like clock, I can't stop. Fuck around, make my 40 pop. No popcorn, I pop pistols, reaming my body.
Alright guys, in the last chapter of the Boruto manga, we essentially seen that Boruto actually died. Now as right now, it's still essentially like kind of up in the air. We don't know if he genuinely did die. We don't know what the fallout is going to be. Hey, he can wake up in the next chapter. We have absolutely no idea, but I do want to kind of compile about 5 different ways that I think that Boruto can actually come back alive. I definitely did want to talk about this man because this right here is absolutely insane. I think the most popular opinion that a lot of people do have about how Boruto can actually come back alive is through the Jougan. Now, here's the thing. We know that Boruto's Jougan has not necessarily come to the Boruto manga as of yet, specifically through Boruto. We've seen it before through the Otsutsuki God. Now, we think that's the Jougan. It wasn't necessarily confirmed, but I think we could probably tell, hey, that's most likely probably going to be the Jougan. But Boruto himself has never really manifested the Jougan. Now, one thing that I have been talking about for a very long time, with pretty much everybody, was the time skip. The time skip seems like it's going to be relatively close. We don't know for sure, but the Boruto writers did say a couple years ago, or a year ago and some change, that it was coming soon, albeit it wasn't Masashi Kishimoto. But you have to understand, we are getting close to the time skip, and if we are getting close to the time skip, it would make sense for the Jougan to make an appearance in the manga. I've always thought that the Jougan should appear right before the time skip, so post time skip, after the time skip, you could possibly see that Boruto is now using his eye regularly. We see after the time skip, when he does fight against Kawaki, that Boruto activates his Jougan pretty easily. Like, it's not necessarily anything too difficult for him to actually do, and I personally believe over the time skip is probably going to be where Boruto gains a lot of that knowledge of how to actually utilize the Jougan. Now, if the Jougan pops up in the next chapter, it would make a lot of sense, just going off of the time skip angle. And of course, the Boruto writers, they did a very good job of this, even though the Boruto fans probably don't necessarily like this. They left the Jougan really open to editing. They didn't necessarily make it concrete, like, hey, this right here is what the Jougan can do, and this right here is the only thing that the Jougan can do. No, literally right now, the Boruto writers can have the Jougan do anything, and it's going to make sense plot-wise. So the writers have free reign to make the Jougan do essentially whatever they want to do. So Boruto being saved by the Jougan definitely does make a lot of sense, but me personally, if I would actually have to make a decision about the Jougan, I'd say it's probably like a 6 out of 10 chance of actually happening. 60% chance. I can't necessarily say for sure, but it's probably the best possibility out of all of these right here. Now, the next one is going to be through Tsunade. Now, I'm not necessarily sure if I have the specific word for it, but back in Naruto Shippuden, the first arc, literally the first arc, my favorite character, I named my whole channel after this character, just replaced the G with the B, Gaara actually died. Now, when Gaara died, he actually got saved by Granny Chiyo. She essentially did some sort of maneuver to actually transport her life into his life. Now, Tsunade is getting a little bit older. Not saying that she's older or anything like that, because Tsunade still looks like a snack. I personally believe that Tsunade can possibly save Boruto. One of the things that we have been seeing from a lot of the older generation characters is that they haven't necessarily been getting a lot of screen time. Now, the best thing for the old generation characters to actually do is provide some value with this new generation, not necessarily be all screen and wither away and die. I think a lot of people can agree that they'd pretty much rather the older generation's character's death be actually meaningful in the series. I personally don't believe that Tsunade's going to have a big role in the series of Boruto just because Sakura is there. Sakura is like an upgraded version of Tsunade, unless Sakura becomes like the Hokage, and then Tsunade has to retain her role as like the #1 medic in the Hidden Leaf Village. But besides that, I honestly think that Tsunade actually stepping in and potentially doing the same jutsu that Granny Chiyo did on Gaara will probably be an amazing way to handle this situation. One of the things that we definitely do have to point out is that Boruto is actually dead. Hypothetically, if Boruto legitimately died, Momoshiki's soul would have also been dispersed as well, meaning that Momoshiki wouldn't necessarily have control over Boruto, hypothetically, if Tsunade were to actually bring Boruto back to life. This right here could possibly be a very good way to have Boruto have control over his body, but also have complete control over the Karma Seal as well. He could potentially do exactly what Kawaki did with his Karma Seal. So again, this right here, in my personal opinion, would probably be like one of the best case scenarios. After the Jougan, this right here would probably be one of the best case scenarios. All right, now the third way that Boruto can actually come back, and I think this right here is probably going to be one of the most least likely, it's essentially Naruto using creation of all things and actually saving Boruto. If you guys do recall, back in the 4th grade Shinobi War, when Might Guy went Night Guy and literally almost killed Madara, he essentially was supposed to die after using the 8th gate, but Naruto did actually step in and save my guy. Now, throughout the series of Boruto, we've been having the discussion if Naruto still has Sage of 6 Paths mode. One of the things that we have not necessarily questioned was if Naruto actually has 6 Paths Senjutsu, and I think this right here is essentially where the creation of all things jutsu actually does stem from, but Naruto still kind of has yin and yang, so he possibly has it, but you never know. I personally believe that because he doesn't necessarily have 6 Paths Senjutsu anymore, he doesn't necessarily have the truth seeking orbs and a bunch of all the other hex abilities that he did get from Senjutsu. Because of that, I probably think that this right here is probably going to be extremely less likely, but hypothetically, if Naruto can actually save Boruto, I think 100% he is going to save Boruto. But the next one is going to be number 4, and I definitely do want to make a video about this whole entire topic, man, because I think this right here goes into like a deeper thing. But Code can potentially save Boruto. Now, I know you guys are asking, why would Code save Boruto? One of the things that we do have to understand is that Code's plan, which is essentially planting a god tree, essentially hinges on Boruto. Right now, I mean, Ida has taken a liking to Kawaki because Ida kind of likes Kawaki. Code can't actually kill Kawaki, which means that his only target to actually feed to a potential Ten-Tails, to create a potential god tree and to eat a potential chakra fruit, would be Boruto. So if Boruto is actually dead, Code's plan is absolutely kaput. So if Code has any sort of ability to potentially even keep Boruto on like a life support, I think he'd probably do it. And the reason why I bring up Code is that we don't really know all of his abilities. Similar to Damon and Ida, he's kind of like a mystery as well. I know Code kind of took like a backseat mainly because Ida and Damon were like these strongest cyborgs with a lot more unique abilities, but Code is still relatively new and we don't really know all of the abilities that Code can actually do. Now, the last way that I can actually see Boruto come back would probably be through Momoshiki. I mean, he is a freaky Otsutsuki member. When I say freaky, he has a bunch of abilities that other Otsutsuki members just does not have. And I think one of the biggest examples of this is when Momoshiki just completely stops time. He did this multiple times. I thought that this right here originally was the actual process of giving someone a karma seal, but from what we've seen from Jougan and Ishiki Otsutsuki, that is not the regular situation. And not only that, Momoshiki also stopped time again in the most recent chapter or a couple chapters ago. Now, I personally believe that, it's possible that Momoshiki has an ability to potentially save Boruto. Momoshiki has been alive for over 1,000 years, devouring chakra fruits from multiple different dimensions. Who knows what abilities that he actually did garner from other dimensions. So it would not necessarily be a complete exaggeration to actually believe that Momoshiki can actually save Boruto. What we do understand right now is that if Boruto actually legitimately dies, Momoshiki would also actually legitimately die. So it would be in Momoshiki's best interest to try to do whatever he possibly can to actually save Boruto. But let me know what you guys think about these in the comment section below. And honestly, if I were to actually give just one of these that I think would probably be the most likely, I'd probably have to say the Jougan, just because the time skip is coming. I think this right here is like the best time to actually bring about the Jougan. But we do have to point out, I mean, with the Boruto manga, every single time that we predict a certain thing, they go in a completely different direction. Like who thought before the chapter came out that Boruto would actually die? Like, let's keep it 1,000 here. But let me know what you guys think. It's me, your boy Baara, and we out.
It's a knife.